For the past 12 years, I've traveled down the Garden State Parkway, exiting in the Newark area and then going on the local roads to the seminary at Seton Hall University. Inevitably, I always seem to be caught at a light where there is a panhandler. About a year ago, after exiting the parkway, I lowered my car window as I came to a red light just to let some fresh air into the car. Sure enough, without meaning to, I attracted a panhandler to the car window. And he was a disheveled, older gentleman with white hair that was kind of longish and a scraggly white beard. He came up to my window and he politely asked if I could give him a dollar bill so he could buy a cup of coffee. For a brief moment, I had to look into the eyes of a stranger in need, and my heart just melted. I handed him a $5 bill, which was all the money I had on me at the time, and his eyes, they widened. And then he said, "Now I can buy eggs with my coffee." And I could hear him say as he walked away from me repeatedly, "God bless you, God bless you, God bless you." In all the years I've traveled to the seminary, this was the first time I had seen him. And after that day, I never saw him again. For me, this very personal encounter with a stranger in need was transformational. I now see the world through a different set of lenses. My attitude towards the poor has softened. Maybe this uncomfortable encounter was not by chance, but a God incident. Mother Teresa would often say, Jesus comes in the distressing disguise of the poor. I wonder if that day I was sharing a grace-filled moment with Christ. My encounter with the old man reminds me of today's gospel passage because at times I see a little bit of myself in the rich man. I'm sure that's exactly why Jesus told this parable to the Pharisees and why it seems to continue to challenge Christians 2,000 years later regarding their attitudes towards the poor and wealth. You see, right from the beginning of the parable, we learn that the rich man has it all. Fine clothing, shelter, money, status, power. I bet you're probably thinking that if he was living in the 21st century, we might picture him wearing an Armani suit, living in a humongous McMansion, maybe driving a Lamborghini, and dining at the most sumptuous and expensive restaurants every day. In painful contrast is Lazarus, who lies out on the gates of this rich man's mansion, ignored, hungry, even for a small morsel of food, and yet no one comes out to help him. In this story, it's easy for us to root for Lazarus, isn't it? We're pleased that he is rewarded and the rich man is punished. And yet I want you to think, what exactly did the rich man do to Lazarus? Did he beat him, steal from him, or treat him harshly in any way? Did he have him removed from the gates of his house? No. He just simply ignored him as if he didn't exist. The rich man's sin was not in what he had done, but in what he had failed to do. And I think that is the devastating point of this parable. He did nothing wrong to Lazarus. He just didn't do anything for him. The rich man failed to realize that all his good fortune, his wealth, and his talents are nothing more than gifts from God. As Father Carlos mentioned in his homily last week regarding the parable of the dishonest steward, we you and me, and the rich man in this parable are expected to be good stewards, good administrators of God's gifts, sharing our abundance with others. Well, you and I, we might not be rich like the man in the parable, but we're probably doing okay, at least compared to the 3 billion people that live on less than $2.50 a day. As appalling as this number might be, it's only when we put a human face to those who lie at the gates of society and look into their eyes that our hearts will be moved to help them. For me, it was that old man who came to my car window. So, who is the Lazarus that lies at our doors, yours and mine? Certainly they are the poor, the homeless, and the hungry, but they are also the lonely and the afraid, the unemployed, the immigrant, the unwed teenage mom, the sick and suffering, the elderly and the dying. They are our family members, our neighbors, our friends, our co-workers, and they are the strangers we meet who are hungry for love, hungry for God, hungry for a little bit of dignity. These are the faces of Jesus himself, begging at the gates of our lives. Can you see them? They're all around us. Mother Teresa, in her book, No Greater Love, wrote, "The hope for all humanity is in the poor, because in the end, we will be judged on how we treat them." Today, as we come before the gift of the Eucharist, we come in poverty. Like beggars, we hold out our hands to receive the spiritual nourishment, the body and blood of our Lord. The Eucharist is the source of the grace that empowers us to care for those who are the Lazarus at our doors. As we go forth today, let us be transformed by this Eucharist to be Eucharist for others. May our encounter with the risen Christ enable us not only to see Christ in our brothers and sisters, but to be Christ for the Lazarus at our doorstep, soothing them with the oil and wine of mercy and compassion. Let us go forth to make a difference today. God bless you.